Greenberg has been an activist for many, many years, particularly in the women's liberation movement since the 60s. She's traveled to every corner of this country doing clinic defense and working to really work for women and our equality. She's on the Reproductive Freedom Task Force for Refuse and Resist. She's also the national spokesperson for, the local spokesperson for the New York chapter of the Revolutionary Communist Party. And the other night I went to a bookstore presentation that she did just recently, and I think this really kind of sums it up. This older woman walked up to her when she was done with her presentation and she said, "Gosh, I looked at you and you looked so innocent, so normal, and when that mouth opened up, power came out. I couldn't believe it." So Mary Lou Greenberg.
Thanks, Tracy. Some people said it might be too cold in January to get a pro-choice crowd out here. I want to first talk real briefly a couple points. One about numbers. I've been talking to a lot of press out here. And one thing they always said, they've been saying today is, well, what about numbers? There's many fewer of you than there are of them. Okay, first thing I said was, yeah, that's right. I said, but that don't mean who's right and who's wrong. Because there are two sides, there are two extreme sides, and I'm glad to be on one of them. The side that stands for women's freedom. And they stand for women's enslavement. Cut all the crap about life, fetuses. It's about women and women's role in society. And some people say, well, 25 years after Roe, and I was around and I was fighting the system then, and as I still am. It's no wonder that we're still fighting, because the role of women is a key question in any society. It sort of determines that society, and so long as you got a system that not only thrives but relies on patriarchy, it's going to be a hell of a fight. Every step of emancipation is going to be a tortuous one, and we ain't never going to get to a situation where women can be free until you got rid of that system. Now, there are a lot of people that may disagree with that statement. That comes from my communist viewpoint. But we're uniting with all kinds of people to fight against everything that keeps women down and keeps the people down. And I'll tell you, another thing the press talks about sometimes is they want to know, well, again, why aren't there more of you out here? And I said, well, that's a good question. And there should be more of us out here. But frankly, and I gotta be straight with you here, too many people don't understand the dangers we face right now around the question of abortion access and the question of the growing, developing Christian fascist movement that we see over there. No, it's not a cult. It would be easier to deal with if it were a cult. It's a movement that is part of the whole, what Refuse and Resist, and that's why I really like Refuse and Resist, because it really concentrates a lot of stuff that's going on. It's a politics of cruelty, the politics of poverty, punishment, patriarchy, that the whole ruling class, the people in power in this country, have united on. And these people over here play a very important role for them, because they give a phony moral veneer. Oh, this is just about values. It's about God. It's about treating each other well. It's a more phony moral veneer, and they're the shock troops. The ones who come in the night, who throw bombs at clinics, the ones who shoot doctors, the ones who spread the lies and make women feel guilty that abortion is murder. But they're part of the same program. And people have got to realize that if we're going to protect this right, if we're going to go forward, if we're going to make it possible for more women to have abortions than they do now, and people have talked about the restrictions, we got to rely on ourselves. Ain't nobody in any of these big buildings going to do it for us. Ain't going to be the courts, ain't going to be the cops. We heard about the doctor in Tampa, and that isn't just in Tampa. I've heard that story all across the country. I've heard it all across the country. They say, yeah, the cops come after the antis rush inside. Yeah, the cops come after they kill doctors. And they claim the mantle of morality? How dare they? We cannot let them have that mantle of morality because of what they represent and what we represent. We have got to stop being on the defensive or saying, well, yes, but. No ifs, ands, or buts on this issue, as far as I'm concerned. It's got to be abortion on demand and without apology for any woman at any time for any fucking reason. Because if we give them anything, they'll take more. We know that. We've seen it. It's the goddamn logic that has gotten us to the point today where, in fact, millions of women don't have access to abortion. It's something that the chairman of the RCP has put this way. He says, where yesterday's outrage becomes today's compromised position and tomorrow's limit of what we can hope to accomplish. Yesterday's outrage, limits on abortion, today's compromised position, and tomorrow's what we can hope for. I'm saying we got to get out of that. We got to get out of it by getting out of it, and we got to get out of it by relying on ourselves. And I just want to talk briefly about Bill Clinton. Frankly, I think all these headlines in the paper, you know, just another example of the patriarchy, of this, the kind of system that uses women, that uses them as commodities or as receptacles for some man's seed. And when he talks about abortion being safe, legal, and rare, that's a big problem. Because why should abortion be rare? Yeah, we want better birth control. We want sex education in the schools. We don't want women to be raped, but that ain't what he's talking about. Look at what he does. No, that's not what he's talking about. He's saying by use of the word rare that there's something wrong with abortion. And by use of the word rare, he's contributing to a climate that puts us, or tries to put us, on the moral defensive. We got to get off that defensive. We got to stand proud. We've got to hold our voices up. If we've had abortions, we got to talk about them. We got to support the doctors and clinics. We got to find ways of defending those doctors, providers, by any means necessary. If the antis are going to attack them, we have to find ways of defending them. And we have to speak out. Yes, there should be more people here. But damn it, we got to start reversing the momentum, and this is an excellent way to begin doing that. For the first time in many years, there's a pro-choice presence on the streets of Washington, D.C. that says they can't have our day or our lives. No more coat hangers. No more coat hangers. And it ain't over now because they're beginning to come out. Well, we're here. We have lots of things to say to them, I think. And we're going to say it to them. And then they're going to go to the Supreme Court down that way and around. Well, I think we have to tell them again that this is our day. They ain't going to have it. They ain't going to have our lives. And we're going to fight to turn things around. Refuse and resist.